My wife, Sherry, thought I didn't know about her plans. She thought I was stupid or at least unaware of her growing romance with co-worker Todd. She believed that I would let her cuckold me and that I would accept the fact that she would have sex with him and I would continue to be her husband. She had one more thing to do. She had no idea that I'd been suspecting her for a long time. I noticed changes, clear signs of infidelity, things like working late often, sexy updates to her wardrobe, more aggressive sex, and a loss of all interest in all the things we used to care about. I tried to talk to her about this several times, but each time my concerns fell on deaf ears. Sherry, of course, denied that anything was wrong. She said it was just my insecurities and my possessiveness working overtime, so I had no choice but to hire a private investigator. I refused to remain blind to the truth. I will never tolerate my wife cheating on me. I made this clear from the very beginning of our relationship and repeated it many times during our 10 years of marriage. So, with mixed feelings, I sat in the office of private investigator Jake Sloan and listened to his report. I was relieved when he made it clear that Sherry wasn't cheating. However, this relief was short-lived when he added the word yet. As he explained, my wife was having an affair. Things simply didn't come to something sexual, but it was only a matter of time. It looks like Sherry and Todd were what they call work spouses. I hated that term. Sherry only had one spouse, me. Some may consider this expression cute and harmless, but to me, it meant that she was having an intimate relationship with someone else. Well, as it turns out, that's exactly what she had. According to the private investigator's report, Sherry and Todd ate lunch together every day. Just the two of them. They held hands and sat next to each other. He provided many photographs of them hugging, sometimes even kissing. I was furious with what I saw and wanted to strangle that smug asshole Todd. In addition to dinners, the lovers often worked late into the night together, although there was no good reason for this. It was as if they wanted to avoid going home to their respective spouses and milk as much our time out of each day as possible. The detective told me that he was able to track Sherry's emails and messages. I knew it was completely illegal, and I could never use it in a divorce. In our state, divorce for adultery was possible, but difficult. No-fault divorces were much easier, and I didn't have to use evidence to do it anyway. I just wanted it for my own purposes. Sloan refused to give me copies of the actual messages. He didn't even let me see them. Instead, he offered me a summary of what they contained. He assured me that my wife never spoke disparagingly about me. Several times Todd tried to humiliate me, but Sherry wouldn't allow it. Well, I guess it could have been worse. Emails and messages confirmed their romantic relationship, although neither of them declared their love. Their conversations were very sexual, bordering on sexting. Todd sent my wife pictures of his manhood in pants, which she was delighted with. Reciprocating, she sent pictures of her bare breasts. As far as Sloan could tell, she had yet to send any photos of her private parts. As I sat in his office, contemplating my next steps, Sloan told me the worst news. Todd's wife was leaving town for 3 days to visit her mother. The lovers decided to take this opportunity to meet and consummate their relationship. The only thing standing in their way was me. They weren't sure how they could spend the night together if I was still around. Since I had no intention of leaving the city, this would be almost impossible. They thought over a variety of plans. One of them had to tell me that Sherry was going on a girls-only trip for the weekend. She was afraid that I would talk to one of her friends and find out the truth. She didn't want to involve anyone to create a viable legend, so the idea was rejected. Then they thought about making me leave town. I laughed bitterly as I remembered Sherry suggesting that I organize a golf trip with my buddies. I was not interested in this, which also brought this option down. Finally, they came up with a new but straightforward approach: honesty. Todd believed that I was a cuckold in the making, and that I would do anything to keep Sherry as my loving, happy wife, including allowing her to have an affair with another man. Somehow, he made Sherry believe that by sleeping with him, she would help improve our sex life and our relationship. He convinced her that all she had to do was tell me what she planned to do to Todd. and I would give in and let her do it. Obviously, this asshole didn't know me, but what surprised me the most was that Sherry bought his bullshit. She should have known that I would never tolerate this. If she doesn't understand this, then she is mentally unstable. Sloan told me that was all they had, so I took what he gave me and went home. I asked him to continue to monitor Sherry's messages and let me know if anything changed. On Friday, Sloan called me and told me that Sherry was going to meet me the following Monday after work. She was going to tell me that she was going on a date with Todd on Friday night. This date began with dinner and dancing, but ended with the couple spending the night in a hotel room, having sex until they passed out. She had the foresight to come back to my house on Saturday or maybe Sunday, depending on how much sex they had. Sherry and Todd rehearsed her entire speech and convinced themselves that I would accept her demands. They knew that at first I would be upset, even angry. But Sherry was going to reassure me that it was just a one-time thing, even though they both knew it wasn't. She tried to tell me that she would have sex with me later as a reward for my understanding. Knowing that Sherry and I hadn't had sex in months, she assumed that I would be so happy to have Todd's sloppy seconds that I would acquiesce to her wishes. How nice of them to think about my needs. I only had 2 days to prepare for the confrontation. Sherry and Todd jokingly called it an intervention. I'll be damned if things go the way she imagined. I decided that I would turn their interference into my ban. I spent the weekend going through script after script, trying to figure out what I was going to do and how I could fix my marriage. First, I had to decide if I wanted to fix it. I wasn't sure I knew. As I thought about how I felt about Sherry, my plan of action evolved organically. I decided to deal with this head-on and end it for good. When we first got married, Sherry and I seemed blissfully happy. We spent all our time together, sharing everything we had experienced in life. She was my best friend and best lover. Somehow it all seemed to disappear. Maybe that's just how things work. Nothing lasts forever. Perhaps my view of marriage was rather old-fashioned and idealized. I thought we would become a team, going through life together, side by side fighting the trials and tribulations that would befall us. Sherry and I have been married before, unsuccessfully. If this marriage also failed, perhaps the problem was not with us. Maybe it was the institution of marriage itself. How can people expect to maintain feelings, desires, interests, and passions when fate insists on being fickle and finding ways to change everything and everyone? In a world of 30-second sonic bites, fast-paced culture, social media, and instant gratification, perhaps marriage, like dinosaurs and CDs, has become obsolete. I thought that if Sherry wanted to be with Todd, maybe I should just let her. Then I woke up and came to my senses. There's no way in hell I'm going to let her cuckold me. I may not want her anymore, but I'll be damned if I let Todd get the better of me by claiming my wife. Fuck it all. I was ready for a fight when my wife called me just after lunch on Monday. "Hey, Sherry," I began. "Everything okay? You never call me at work anymore. Hope everything is okay." "Hello, honey," she replied. "Cute." "Really? Did she use that epithet for Todd too?" "It's okay. I just wanted to make sure you were home on time today. I need to talk to you about something very important, so I need you to be there." "Oh, good," I replied and added, "Yes, that's good, because I also have important news for you. I should be home by 5:15 or so. Will this work?" She didn't answer right away. When she asked this, it was only to get information. "Important news? Which?" she asked. "I'll tell you tonight," I said, and decided to end the conversation. "I'm just in the middle of my monthly report. I need to do this so I can leave on time. See you at home." I hung up and walked down the hall to my boss's office to tell him I was taking the rest of the day off. He didn't mind, and that was good. I had a few things I needed to prepare for the ban. I was sitting at the kitchen table when I heard the garage door open at 5:27. I was nervous, but also very angry. I tried my best to remain calm on the outside while my emotions raged inside me. I had an open bottle of Sauvignon Blanc with ice and 2 glasses at the ready. 2 minutes later, the door opened and Sherry walked in alone, throwing her keys and purse on the table. I was glad she didn't take Todd with her. It would complicate things. I smiled. "Hi, honey," I said, repeating the endearment she had used that afternoon. "Welcome home. Do you need a little time before we talk, or do you want to get straight to the point?" She was taken aback by my immediate desire to talk. I think she figured we'd get there eventually and wasn't ready for it so quickly. I won't let her take over. I wanted to keep her on edge and unprepared. She had everything she planned to do and say worked out in detail, so I had to be as destructive as possible. I didn't expect you to sit here and wait, but yeah, I guess the sooner we get started, the sooner we can get on with our evening," Sherry said, walking over and sitting down across from me. "If you don't mind, I'll tell you my news first." "You do not mind, do you?" I asked quite insistently. No," she said hesitantly. "It's okay." "Okay, would you like a glass of wine?" I asked. I didn't wait for her answer. I poured us both a glass and placed one in front of her. "Yeah, that would be great," she said with a sigh, raising her glass and drinking half of it. I filled her glass as soon as she set it down. "So, this is something I've been thinking about a lot," I began. "I'm not going to beat around the bush. There's no point in delaying this." I paused, deliberately trying to create tension. It worked. Sherry leaned forward and looked at me intently. "What's the matter?" she asked. "I want a divorce," I stated bluntly, and waited for her to understand. It took about 3 seconds. Sherry's face betrayed her thoughts and emotions. First of all, she was confused, as if she didn't understand the words I was saying. Then it dawned on her what I said, and she was shocked. Fear and anxiety quickly gave way to surprise. She was afraid that I might find out about her affair with Todd. "Why?" she asked, afraid of the answer. "I don't love you anymore," I said. It looked like I had stabbed Sherry in the chest. "What are you doing?" she asked, struggling with my statement. "I stopped loving you, Sherry." "I don't remember exactly when I stopped loving you," I lied. I knew exactly when. "It was so long ago, I tried to ignore it as much as I could, but lately it's getting harder and harder for me not to face the truth." "What are you talking about?" she asked. It looked like she was about to cry. I was surprised by her reaction. "Do you remember when we first got married?" I asked. "Remember how we spent all our free time together? If we went somewhere, to the store, to the cinema, to the mall, anywhere, we did it together. It was as if we couldn't bear to be apart." She nodded. "I remember," Sherry said. "We both had jobs, but we especially tried to have lunch at least twice a week. And we couldn't wait for work to finish so we could rush home and be together. I missed you so much every day and looked forward to coming home, kissing you and making love to you more often than not. We had common hobbies. You made me go to those stupid pottery classes with you. Do you know how much I love doing this with you?" "I thought you hated pottery," Sherry said, looking at me intently. "It wasn't about ceramics. It was about sharing my experience with you," I told her. "I loved every minute. I loved watching you do it and helping you. I was delighted by your enthusiasm. It was the same with painting those damn Christmas Village buildings. We bought about a dozen of these little unpainted houses and painted them together to make a display for Christmas. It was tiring, but we enjoyed it." "Yours were always better than mine," Sherry said. "Do you remember how many nights we spent together at the table applying paint to the tiles?" Sherry nodded again. "I loved you so much then. We also spent hour after hour coloring those big posters you picked up on your trip to Myrtle Beach. This was long before adult coloring books were in vogue. We still have hundreds of these colored pens. But like our love, they have all dried up." Sherry visibly shrank. "My love has not dried up," she retorted defensively. I ignored her and continued. "All our friends were talking about how jealous they were of us. We did everything together. We took long walks holding hands every day. If I had to run to the hardware store to thread a weed trimmer line, you'd come with me. If you wanted to go shopping for clothes, I would tag along and wait outside the locker room." "Yes, but you hated it," she challenged me. "You would be constantly on the phone. You didn't look at the clothes with me." "I didn't care what you chose. I thought you were beautiful in everything. I was there to be with you. I could stay home and watch sports. We talked about how other women in the neighborhood would get together to play bingo or have bachelorette parties, but you never wanted to go. Do you remember what you told me about why you didn't participate? Sherry wiped a tear from her cheek. Yes, I remember. You said you didn't want to hang out with the chickens when you could hang out with me instead. Many nights we cuddled under the covers and watched You Get Mail. I love this movie, Sherry said, holding back tears. We must have watched it at least 100 times, I said, refilling her glass. I still want to watch it with you, Sherry exclaimed. I don't want to get a divorce. I thought we would grow old together, take cooking lessons, take ballroom dancing, or just lie in bed and read books. Whatever, as long as we were with each other. But we grew apart, Sherry. I don't know exactly when it started, I said, looking closely into my wife's eyes. We went from having lunch 2 or 3 days a week to having lunch every week. It was Sherry's fault. She once told me that she didn't have time to eat out of the office that often. It was a lie. She was still eating outside, only she decided to do it with someone else. And then, before I knew it, we stopped having lunch together altogether. I started joining my colleagues for lunch. Over time, I found myself enjoying their company, perhaps too much. I was exaggerating, but I tried my best not to put the blame on Sherry. I didn't want to put her on the defensive and start resisting. This conversation can very quickly turn sour or turn into an argument. That wasn't my goal, at least not yet. And then going home early to spend time with each other wasn't as important anymore. We worked later and later. When we finally returned home, we were often distant or distracted. Why didn't you ever talk about this? Sherry asked. If I knew that this was important to you, I would try to have lunch with you more often or not work so late. You're right, I said, agreeing with her, although I had said this many, many times. It's a pity that I couldn't understand why it's not important for you to be with me. Maybe if I did, I could change or do something to make you want to spend more time with me. I think I failed in this regard. It seemed to me that I was taking responsibility for our distance. This was far from the truth. I knew that if I hit Sherry and Todd first, we wouldn't be able to end the discussion without it turning nasty. I will never make her see my side of things. I would be the controlling, jealous asshole. Before revealing what I knew, I wanted her to remember what we had and think about her role in destroying it. Gradually, we stopped doing almost everything together. You started going to your bachelorette parties. I started going to poker nights. On weekends, you would go to the spa. I'd go play golf. Sherry, we could go days without talking about the weather or the latest news. Our sex life also began to suffer. Often we were too tired or not in the mood. When we first got married, we couldn't keep our hands off each other. We had sex 4 or 5 days a week, often several times a day. I caressed you while you cooked, and we skipped dinner and had sex all night. We went to the hot tub all the time, always having fun. We haven't had a hot bath in over a year. I thought you didn't want sex anymore, Sherry objected. I have no idea where she got this idea. I think she justified her behavior by trying to make it my fault. Oh God, no, I said with a chuckle. I never stopped wanting sex. I'm just as excited now as I was 10 years ago. I just stopped wanting sex with you. I knew it would hurt deeply. She thought she rejected me sexually, so I told her that our lack of sex was because I didn't want sex with her. I would almost laugh if it didn't hurt so much. What? Sherry asked, her voice breaking. I don't think she expected such words from me. You didn't want to have sex with me? I've lost all interest in doing this with you, I said point blank. You were a cold fish. You just lay there. You never wanted to do anything exciting or even remotely naughty. It seemed to me that you wanted to get this over with quickly so you could get back to something more interesting, like knitting. All this time, I still wanted weekend sex marathons like before. Hell, you didn't even want me to bring you to climax. Sex with you was boring, Sherry. You didn't even realize it, but the last few times you and I had sex, I pretended I was at the finish line just to get it over with. You didn't do it, Sherry objected. No, don't you remember? You insisted that I use condoms for sex even though you were on birth control. I told you I don't like using condoms, but you insisted. You never looked at condoms, so it was easy to fake it. I just grunted, rolled off, and threw away the empty condom. "What are you doing?" she shouted. She seemed completely depressed by the possibility that I wasn't enjoying sex with her. Fine, my plan worked. "Sorry, Sherry," I said, thrusting the knife deeper. "It's me, not you." She looked at me intently for several moments. Her tears dried up and her face turned red. I wasn't sure if it was out of anger, disappointment, or embarrassment. I filled her empty glass. She took it and took a long sip. "It was just a matter of time," I continued, "before we started looking for someone else to spend time with. I didn't mean myself, but she didn't know that." "Are you cheating on me?" she suddenly asked angrily. "Have you fallen in love with someone else?" "Sherry, you know how I feel about infidelity. I made a vow to you when we got married, and I take that vow seriously. I know your first husband cheated on you, just like my first wife had sex with a coworker behind my back. I would never do that to you, just as I know you would never stoop so low as to try to cuckold me by screwing another man. How could you think that I would do this?" "Sorry," she apologized. "You're right. I know you won't do this." She looked guilty and couldn't meet my gaze. Her hands were shaking. "We'll wait for the divorce to have sex for the first time," I said, clearly hinting that I had a new love interest. Which brings me back to my main news. I have already met with a lawyer and completed the paperwork. You should be served on Friday. "Wait, what?" she asked, getting desperate. "I told you that you will be served with divorce papers on Friday," I said, trying not to smile. "It will be better this way. This way you can regain your freedom and do what you want. And me too. We can admit that the last 10 years have been a waste of our time and move on." "They weren't a waste of time for me." "Come on, Sherry," I said. "I think you want this as much as I do. I mean, let's be real. You haven't wanted to be with me for a long time. Our wedding was a mistake. I'm not the person you want to be with." "No, that's not true," she objected. "I don't want a divorce. You can't get a divorce just because you want to. I don't want to divorce you. I want to be married to you. Forever. I love you." "I'm sorry, Sherry, but I don't love you anymore. It's a no-fault divorce state, so we can just split all the assets 50-50. I mean, it's remotely possible to get more than half the assets, but that's only if one of us cheats and we can absolutely prove marital treason. But none of us are cheating and are unlikely to do so before Friday, right? So we can make a clean break. I'd like you to come with me to the bank tomorrow so we can split the money from all our accounts equally. You will have to open new accounts, get new credit cards, and change all utility bills. And we'll have to sell the house. I have a realtor coming to see me on Wednesday to put it up for sale." "Wait, you are hurting too much," Sherry shouted. I do not know what to do. Please stop." She started crying again. "Don't worry, I've already packed my things and will live in a hotel room until I can move to a permanent place. You can stay here until the house is sold." "Wait! Damn it!" Sherry shouted. "Please wait." "There's no need to wait," I said. "Right? We must not put it off any longer. I mean, we have to take care of everything before Friday. Isn't it?" "Why? What's so damn important about Friday?" she demanded. "Well, you're going on a date with your boyfriend, Todd, on Friday, right? Isn't this the day you two plan to spend the night in a hotel together and have sex all night?" Sherry froze. Her eyes seemed to be about to pop out of their sockets. Her mouth was open like a dying fish. She tried to say something, but only a hiss came out of her throat. "Am I on the wrong day?" "Wait," I said, pulling a folder from under a stack of Better Homes and Gardens magazines and opening it. I pulled out a piece of paper with a brief report from a private investigator and showed it to Sherry. I pointed to the part about her plans to have sex with Todd on Friday night. "No, I'm right. See, it says here that you and Todd have a reservation at the Gaylord Texan for Friday night." "Is not," she began, but I cut her off. "Isn't this what it looks like?" I asked her, completing her sentence. "Oh, should I show you pictures of you and Todd kissing at lunch?" She stared at me, and the tears started flowing again. "I'm very sorry," she said quietly. "Now I remember exactly when I stopped loving you," I said with a big smile on my face. "I stopped loving you the day I found out that you were planning to cuckold me with your colleague, just like my ex-wife." "Sorry, darling," she blurted out, desperately trying to convince me. "I don't love Todd. It will just be an affair. Something to spice up our relationship. I'll spend the night with him, and then you and I will spend the rest of the weekend having hot sex like before. Todd said you'd love it, that it would turn you on and rekindle our sexuality. Yes, that's how to spice up our sex life. Instead of having hot sex with me, you spice things up by having sex with someone else. Does it make sense? No, but... She couldn't even pronounce the phrase. She changed tactics. Todd said you'll do this if you want me to be happy. I want you to be happy, I said. I want you to be happy with me, as you once were. I don't want you to be happy with another man. Are you completely crazy or what? How could you think that this would suit me? You should have known how I feel about infidelity. Yes, but... She tried to find some way to justify her actions. It wouldn't be infidelity. I wouldn't cheat. You will give me your permission. Not in this life, I said. Now I know it. I should have realized this from the very beginning. I don't know what I was thinking. I was probably bored and lonely. Todd got me horny again. Bored and lonely? How could you be bored and lonely when we were happy in love and enjoying all our time together? I don't know, but... She started again. Have you ever thought that you are bored and lonely because you cut us off? You stopped having lunch with me. You stopped spending time with me and doing things with me. You decided to avoid me and put yourself in this position. You chose to spend time with him rather than with me. So if you were bored and lonely, you created this state specifically so that Todd could get rid of boredom and loneliness. I don't think I did it, she said, staring at me. She shook her head. No, I can't believe I would do that. I thought you stopped coming to my place for lunch. Because you told me so. Don't you remember? You kept telling me that you were too busy. And then, one Wednesday, the day of our lunch, I picked you up, and you didn't even bother to come into the lobby and say you couldn't come. You texted me to tell me to go to lunch without you. After that, I stopped coming, and you never even mentioned that we stopped having lunch. I don't think you even realize this. Sherry looked at her hands. You were so absorbed in your world that you didn't notice that you were losing me. You were all about yourself and Todd. Well, now you can take it. I do not need him, she snapped, looking up at me. I want you. I want us. I want us to be like we were before. I'm really sorry. I screwed up. I gave up on us. It's too late, I said, shaking my head. You can't think like that. I didn't cheat on you. We didn't do anything. I won't see him again. I swear. I'm quitting my job. I'll go work somewhere else. Please, I don't want to lose you. I still love you. You cheated on me in every possible way except one. But this is the most important thing. We didn't have sex. I was stupid. I was crazy about Todd. I didn't love him. I have always loved only you. I don't know what I was thinking. I will deal with it and return to you as soon as I get rid of it. But now it's over. Now I see it. I know. It was stupid. I was stupid. Todd means nothing to me. Please, baby, please, do not leave me. It's not that simple, Sherry. Why can't this be? I screwed up. I did it. But you stopped me before I went too far. You've already gone too far, I disagreed. Only sex would seal the deal. I did not do anything. We were only friends, she exclaimed. You should have been friends with me more than with anyone else, I objected. I have many friends. I don't kiss them. I never spent time on them. I never replaced you with them, and I never planned to have sex with them and force you to accept it. Sherry dropped her head into her hands, sobbing. I will never again neglect you or take you for granted. I swear. Please, can't we treat this as a big mistake? Can't you forgive me and give me another chance? This isn't fucking Monopoly where you can get a prison out of a free card, I told her. You didn't just make a big mistake. You left our love and gave your heart to another man. No, he never had my heart. My heart has always been yours. And you were going to give him your body? But I didn't do it. You stopped me. Damn it. Don't you love me enough to fight for me? Do I really mean that little to you? You meant everything to me. I would fight anyone for you. I would die for you. Now I wouldn't piss on you even if you were on fire." Sherry let out a high-pitched scream. She grabbed my hands and tried to pull me towards her. "No, no, please! You can't think like that. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. You have to believe me." "I think you're sorry," I said. "It shows me that you're not exactly a self-centered, heartless bitch." "Then can you give me another chance? Please, I'm begging you, please don't leave me." "I'm not leaving you, Sherry. You did it yourself. I truly believe that you are sorry. Maybe someday I can forgive you. But it does not change anything. I do not love you anymore. Everything is over. But don't worry. You always have Todd to comfort you." "Todd is married," she said through sobs. "He only wanted sex with me. He didn't want any relationship." I chuckled. Well, now he might change his mind. I'm sure his wife had something to say to him when he got home today. She and I use the same divorce lawyer. Sherry's jaw dropped again. I pushed a folder across the table towards her. "The full investigator's report is here, along with photographs of you and Todd. His wife has a copy. It also has all the information from my lawyer about the divorce and how we propose to divide the property. I suggest you read the whole thing." "No, baby, please," she begged. "Don't do this. If you want to go to the bank with me tomorrow, call and let me know." I got up from the table and left the house, not paying attention to the sound of my wife crying. Sherry was struggling with divorce. I didn't want a protracted and expensive trial. So when the judge suggested I see a marriage counselor, I agreed. The consultation helped more than I expected. Sherry and I got in touch with our feelings. We communicated about everything, openly and without judgment. She was able to understand why she became a victim of Todd's advances and almost lost me and our marriage. I was able to explain my pain and the humiliation it caused me. The advisor was proud of our progress. After several sessions, I returned to the house. We had hot sex several times. Sherry was very willing to do whatever I wanted sexually. A year later, we were again the loving couple we were when we first got married. Sherry changed jobs and now worked for my company. We drove to and from work together and ate lunch together every day. We didn't do this because we felt obligated or controlled. We did it because we wanted to be together. In fact, we did almost everything together. We set up a little Christmas village and finished painting 2 paintings that we abandoned years ago. We signed up for another ceramics class and signed up for ballroom dancing. I even found a box with all the colored pens. Much to my surprise, they still didn't dry out. One night, as we were cuddling under the covers, eating popcorn and watching You've Got Mail, Sherry kissed me and said, "Darling, I need to talk to you about something important." I saw tears well up in her eyes. I felt my heart skip a beat and began to panic. Before I could say anything, Sherry continued, "You're going to be a daddy." I smiled and wiped the tears from her cheek, saying in my best Tom Hanks accent, "Don't cry, sales girl." Fine. So I'm just obsessed with happy endings. Sue me. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.